My man, Dave, thank you so much for coming on the Winners Paradigm podcast, brother. It's an honor because I've been following you for a little bit on social media, and we have mutual friends also. You did a podcast with one of my boys, Oscar OG Guerrero, and I loved it, bro. Honestly, you were telling me that it was your first podcast you did, and I was like, there's no fucking way because you were just so fluent. You were amazing. You show up every single day as a better man, and that's the one thing I love about you, brother. It's just the consistency is crazy because you don't miss either. So before I get ahead of myself and I hype you up too much, brother, would you mind giving us a brief intro, who you are, what you're passionate about today, brother?
All right. What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm David Click. I've owned a barbershop for 10 years, and I'm a father. I got a 16-year-old son and a 7-year-old stepson. I'm recently married. It's been a long journey. I've been sober now off opiates for 10 years, and
yeah, brother.
It took that entire time for me to get my life together. So about a little more than a year ago, I had been suffering for about 2 years with in back pain and hip pain. And they kept treating my back, and they were giving me prednisone and cortisone shots. And then they were giving me these non-narcotic nerve blockers. And next thing I know, they got me on 10 a fucking day, dude. And I'm like, and 10 a day, I don't give a fuck what you're taking. You're different.
Yeah.
So they ended up figuring out that it wasn't my back. I have back issues, but I also had a broken hip, and they had to reconstruct it, all new soft tissue, reshape out my hip flexor. Reshape out my socket, my femur. I had no hip flexor. It was completely severed. So they had to reach down, pull that motherfucker up and staple it in. And I was in a bed for 30 days straight in this machine that was like moving my leg to keep it from atrophying. And that's when it hit me, dude, that I had been sober and I put together a decent life. I got a nice house. I have a good son. I had great people, good friends, but I was never living to my full potential. I had anxiety. I had depression. I was always stressing, and I couldn't figure out why, because you get sober and you think like life's going to be good, and it ain't. Life's hard as a motherfucker. And if you are not setting your day up to serve you, then you're going to struggle. So it took me sitting with self to realize how much work I had to do, and that I was a liability on my family, and I was passing off these shitty traits to my kids. And that was it.
Fucking powerful, brother. And I definitely resonate with you, especially on the injuries, in taking, the meds. I've done the same thing. And that's what's funny is, like I talk about it all the time on social media, and I've had people message me, and it's funny when they give the unsolicited advice, like, you should try this. You're like, bro, if I fucking told you I've had 5 injections in my fucking knee, 3 of them were the fucking, what is it? The PRP, where they're like, oh, the plasma rich protein is going to make you feel good. It's going to create antibodies, and you're not going to have this fucking inflammation. Shit didn't fucking work. I got injections in my elbows. They still fucking ache every day. Went to the doctor. They're like, oh, you have cancer. You're going to die. I'm like, what do you fucking do? Like, let's give you these meds. And then the doctor's like, how do you feel? And I was like, honestly, I don't give a fuck. And they just looked at me like, why? And I was just like, some of my favorite people died. I'm not going to sit here being fucking crying. If God wants to take me off this earth, he can, because I've already asked him to kill me, and that was something where it went into, when you talked about being a better man in setting the day up for success. And that's something that's very important to me, brother, because I wasn't living in alignment with that. And the reason why is because I repeated the same cycles that I seen growing up, the drinking, partying, being addicted to sex, being addicted to whatever substance, because we wanted to go away from ourselves, until the injuries happened as well, where we have to sit with ourselves and deeply understand, what do we fucking want, So can you please touch on, that low point, brother, when you started to just sit with the emotion, like we were talking about off record, about the panic attacks and not being in alignment with ourselves, and understanding, hey, the reason why we didn't want to be here is because we didn't have the tools or the resources that can elevate us in these times where shit gets rough.
Yeah, for sure. We all have that voice inside of us, right? And I think with drugs, alcohol, sex, all those things, that keeps it at bay. So you're just using these desires to quiet that voice, and you just keep getting pleasure seeking. And I did that for so long that it came and overflow like a volcano. Like I buried it and buried it and buried it until it exploded. When you're forced to sit there with yourself and listen to yourself and how you think and what you feel on no meds, because dude, when you're on anxiety medicine, you don't feel. It blocks that. So like you don't even know really what's going on. You just think everything's okay, like you're doing good. And I trusted. My fault was that my voice inside me has always told me what to do. And I listened to doctors and teachers in the army, and they told me the opposite of what my voice said. And because I was a kid or young, 18 years old in the army, and they're giving me oxys, I'm like, sure. My teacher giving me drugs in school, like my conscience is like, this ain't right. But like she was pretty and had money and she was cool. And I'm like, I wanted to fit in. So I kept all these years, I didn't listen to my gut. I didn't listen to my conscience. And we've been told now that your conscience is the internal voice of God. So all these years I've been getting advice from God and I didn't fucking listen. And then all of a sudden now I'm hurt and I'm in the bed and I got no meds and I can't get a remote. My phone's over there. I'm fucking stuck. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And I saw that I was a liability on my family, on my friends, on my kids. And everything is energy, right? So energy creation. And if you're either passing off good energy or bad energy. And with children, you're either creating good memories or you're creating like PTSD, right? It's either like positive or negative, and these kids are going to carry that forever. And I had great parents, but I just chose the streets. I don't know, like I watched Blow in like 8th grade and I was like, fuck it, let's go, And so I just made terrible choices and it accumulated over time. And then next thing I know, I got off drugs and thought my life would be better. And it did get better, but I wasn't my best self. And if you're not living in complete alignment on who and what you're supposed to be, without having that voice guide you, you're going to have anxiety. You're going to have panic attacks. And yeah, dude, it came on and all I did, I just punished everybody around me. And I got sick of doing that. So I put in the work.
Hell yeah, brother. And you know what? I love that too. I love that because it was the same, and I was thinking about this the other day because me and wife had that conversation where she's like, I don't think you're as hard as you say you are, and she made a joke and I'm laughing and I'm like, if only you knew. But two, that was the ordeal. It wasn't trying to be hard. It was maneuvering to manipulate whatever situation I was in to get what I wanted. So I was like, I knew that when I'm around the tough guys, don't act hard. When I'm around my friends that are slinging hard, I only got to be cool and just be respectful, be on my P's and Q's, and fucking if someone gets in trouble, don't snitch. You earn respect, So I was talking about that because we were like, because we're talking about pills. I'm like, oh yeah, my friends would have hundreds on them at one time, and we would get them from here, and I'd get them from these people for this amount of money, and I would always try to keep my hands clean. And it was funny because one of my buddies who was slanging hard, he ended up, me and him were supposed to go buddy program in the Marine Corps, and this fucking dumbass did a beer run. So first I get my ass chewed out because they're like, why did your homie do a beer run? And I'm like, I don't know why this fool did that. So he does a beer run, and then he ended up getting locked up because he got caught with like 300 pills, blah, blah, blah. And it was funny because I always did everything behind closed doors. And I kept this image that I wrestled 24/7 and I was a good kid. I got good grades, so nobody knew. And one of his cousins who was slanging with him thought I was a narc. So he could, like, every time he see me, he's like, what's up, narc? And he tried to fight me one day talking about that. And I was like, bro, if I was a narc, why would you fight me? Because I'm going to charge your ass. And I was like, you're going to catch a case. So I was literally saying that. And it was funny.
You were good. You were too good to be with that crowd. And they knew
exactly. That. And that's what was funny is that popped up. And I ended up talking to my friend who, started gangbanging. Got shot years later when I was in the Marine Corps, and he was just like, hey man, I should have went with you, and I'm like, bro, I get it. Like, we all want to do that. And even for me, one house, my dad, had a little bit of money. He always had money. Either he was doing shit to make money when I was younger, whether it was good or bad, and then was sales. And then the other house was fucking below average. My stepdad was a factory worker, supervisor. We always had food in the house, but we didn't have extra money, and it just was unfathomable to me as a kid, where it was just like, how the fuck could you tell yourself that you're not worthy of things? You can't have money. You're not worthy of being more. And then I'm explaining myself to everybody. And that was something big for me, So really when I went into it, and I mean, this is a lot of cases, kids, they want to have exactly what they want. When we're young, we want to do whatever the fuck we want. We don't want to be told, especially when it comes to the money factor. It's like, how many times you're going to go ask for something and be said, oh, we don't have it today. It's a no before you start doing it on your own. And that was something for me, especially when I got in the Marine Corps. It was like, oh, I'm providing the results. I'm doing everything so I can have my fun in my head, my own boss at 19. I can have my fun, and it didn't align. And that was something that led into now where having those conversations with people, just like me and you were talking about the Super Bowl. Oh, are you going to come to the bar with us? Like, if I'm an alcoholic, why the fuck am I going to go to the bar? Number one. And number two, it's like, why am I going to waste this time where I could just be present with my family? It's different if, we're having a function, we're being all in versus, me trying to just check out of life to feel better about myself within these moments. So I really love what you were saying right there, brother, because that's powerful as people don't understand what happens when we're checking out of life and we're just really not giving the best at that time for us.
Yeah. And once you dive into this personal development and once you know how you're supposed to be living, nothing else is acceptable. Like only your best every single day. And you'll just rip yourself apart if you don't do it. So, like I just can't do that shit no more. I still have mad love for my friends. I wish, we'll do a gentleman's dinner, but like the days of me going to meet them at the bar or to do like, I ain't doing it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know what? That's something I'm big on too, where it's like, yeah, we can grab something to eat. We could talk business, but the no bullshit has been great, and even like I said yesterday, I wasn't able to sleep the other night because just aching the whole night, could not fall asleep. I looked yesterday, it was 4 a.m. I was like, fuck, dude, I need to go to sleep. So I literally was just laying in bed all night, hearing the wife snore, my daughter snore, and then knocked out for a couple hours. And last night, like my wife got the tattoo, we came home, and I was like, hey, I need to go into the gym. I need to get this workout in. I wasn't able to go this morning, so went to the gym, got the workout in, went to sleep, woke up at fucking 4 or 3:30, 3:15, was still able to go to the gym this morning. And it was just the fact of you need to put that work in and set that day up for yourself, set up the alignment. And that's one of the things, I talk about with my clients is it doesn't fucking matter. And they're always like, what are you talking about? I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter if your house burns down. It's the foundation. Every single day you wake up, you do the same things, you talked about panic attacks. My fucking key to panic attacks, and I bet you could attest to it as well, is working out during that time. I get a lot of anxiety. I start doing push-ups. I start doing burpees. I get my body in movement because I understand that before I would be stuck in my head, feeling that within my body. And that's another thing people don't realize is you feel this fucking energy in your body when you're not in alignment with it. So when you're talking about setting your day up, like you said, and we're talking about, really processing all this emotion that is in your body, when you have those times that arise where you feel like your emotions are a little too much, maybe you get that anxiety, maybe you feel like, hey, I want to pop a pill or start drinking again. What are the things that you lean on to get yourself through those tough times, brother?
Well, so everything is your process, right? So you have to do things that are in alignment with your best self. Well, who is my best self? I want to be fit. I want to be a good father, and I want to be successful. So when I start, what is anxiety? Anxiety is going too far into the future. What is depression? Going too far into the past. And both of those cause stress, right? And if you look at that, like you're getting a call from your conscience, like it's God telling you you're tripping right now, you're going too far into the future, and you're creating these fake scenarios. You have to do something to put you in present time. So you do something that's aligned with your best self. So for me, and with men, the highest our cortisol is in the morning. So men wake up naturally stressed. You're thinking about your day. What do I got to do? How much money am I going to make? How am I going to deal with the kids and this and that? So for me, I wake up and do the same routine every single day. And they say the most successful people are the most predictable. You know what they're doing. They're structured on a structured routine. So when I feel myself getting anxiety, I go to the gym. I feel myself getting depressed, I go to the gym. And in that time, I come up with a plan. And I come up with a plan to get to the end, to get the result that I want. So if I'm stressing about something, I go to the gym and I'll think about that problem and I'll come up with a solution. And I leave there feeling good. Boom. All of a sudden, you're coming out like, watch this. And then I go and crush it. So for me, I wake up, I start with gratitude. I do a breathing exercise. And people think I'm fucking crazy. but I'm taking in that, right? All that oxygen. And then after that, I sit with myself. I think about it. What's going on? What am I going to do today? And I plan with precision my entire day. So I don't fucking miss. It doesn't matter what I got to do, this, that, doesn't matter. I hit it. I don't care. I'll go to the gym for 20 minutes, and for 20 minutes, I'll bang out burpees with no break. Like,
Boom.
people say that time, they don't have any time. Well, yes, we do. It's just not a priority. So I made myself a priority, and I made how I feel a priority. And I was conditioned my whole life. I thought that it was good to be happy. And then I chased happiness. So I would do things. I would give into my desires. I would pleasure seek drugs, alcohol, women, because I thought it made me happy. But I wasn't focusing on the issue, right? There was no planning. I just was chasing happiness. So instead, I do things that are aligned with my best self. And people are looking for this big fucking answer, dude. It's no fucking secret, dog. It's just waking up and doing what's best for you. And so with that, it doesn't happen overnight, but it got easier. And the best advice I got was like, I told somebody I don't sleep. And they're like, you don't sleep? I'm like, no, I wake up like 3 a.m. every day and I'll fucking berate myself. And he was like, that's awesome. I'm like, it's awesome. And he's like, yeah, go to the gym. You don't sleep, you wake up and berate yourself. Good, go to the gym. And that negative self-talk will eventually become positive. So that's what I did, dude. And it's almost like I manipulated myself, but like I don't think it's manipulation if it has a positive outcome. But I had to act my way into positivity every single day by just coming up with a routine that served me, and then proper programming and proper planning.
Ooh, I love that so much. You know what? That hit home because last year I talk about all the time, but my wife was gonna leave me, and things were getting pretty fucking dark. And it was in a time where your fuck ups catch up to you. So I just wasn't happy. We weren't happy, you know. And at that time, I'm doing more to give back to my wife and show her that, hey, we're gonna make this thing work. And I'm working on the self development. And one of my buddies was just like, "You're not happy. You're not doing things. You don't like being out no more." And I just snapped on him. And I was like, "Bro, what the fuck is happiness?" And I was like, "Happiness is something that's achieved." And he like looked at me and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "You think happiness is having a drink, having a good time? That's not fucking happiness, brother. That's trading in current time for fucking feeling good temporarily versus the future. You know what happiness is for me? Getting up early, getting a workout in, crushing my fucking nutrition. Because for me, I've been at the shit for years. I've literally been working out half my fucking life, but I didn't have the nutrition. I'd be up and down and I wasn't consistent. So people would see that in me. But let me tell you, now that I've been more consistent than I've ever been, I share the nutrition, I share everything, I talk about the injuries. Regardless of how it is, I feel better. And at that time, the injuries were still hitting, you know, and it really hit me hard within this past week, because this past 2 weeks, I felt like my body again is just fucking hurting. You know, it's been raining over here, so I'm aching. Like I told you this morning, you know, want to go do legs, and I'm like, oh, I'll put 225 on. And I put 225 on. My knees are like, fuck no, they're locking up. So I'm like, now I got to go lower, which could be demoralizing, you know. And I talk about those things. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter how you feel, or if it is demoralizing, get through it, you know. And then I was able to get through the workout, and I was able to see, okay, it sucked. I didn't want to do it, but now I can talk from a point of, hey, I didn't want to do these things, but I pushed myself. I was able to be a little bit better today, even though it was uncomfortable. And that's the fact is like everybody wants to be comfortable. And I did that. I skipped the fucking leg day. I've done those things, and I know it doesn't make you feel good. So it was funny when you said that, brother, because when I had that conversation with my buddy, he was really talking about happiness. And I was like, happiness is achieved. And he's like, no, it's not. You know, happiness is something that you just live into. And I'm like, I don't believe that. You know, I believe that you do achieve it, because think about it. You're going to be, if you and the lady are good, then you're good. You know, if you're being a good dad, your kids look up to you, you're good. If you're showing up for yourself, you can show up for everyone else. How, you know, and that's the thing is people don't understand that, you know, like, oh, I can do it on my terms. I don't need to show up all the time. And it's like, no, it doesn't fucking matter. Okay, you want to have a little bit of fun? Get your ass up early and get your work done. The fact is not many people are going to be like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. Especially you talking about being a barber. Like, that's physically demanding, brother. You probably don't even want to fucking do shit the majority of the time because you're tired, whatever, you know, and you're like, I still need to get this shit done, and I still need to show up the best way I can.
I stopped. I don't even care how I feel anymore. It's just, that's why I map out my day. Like, I have an aim, right? I'm trying to go somewhere I've never been. And how do you go there without a map? Like I could ask you to drive 3 towns over to this one location. You know you're going north and you know you're taking a highway, but you don't know how to apps to get to that specific location. So that's what I did here is I created a goal and then I have an aim and then I mapped it out. And I do that every single fucking day and I just don't miss. So, and trust me, there are plenty of days when I start worrying about how my back feels, my hip. On Saturday, I did 18 haircuts. I started at 5 a.m. It's now 4 p.m. and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and one guy showed up and said, I'll pay you double. Like, can I get in right now? Easy one. And like, but what do I want to be? I want to be successful. I want more money. Right. So why wouldn't I? But if you like, I didn't feel like doing it, but I put that aside and I did it. And then he paid me triple. And he was like, thank you so much. I needed this, dude. And he really didn't need the haircut. He came there for the confidence that a haircut gives him, the positive conversation that is had here. And it's an intrinsic value exchange that happens. But yeah, dude, I stopped thinking about trying to be happy. And instead I make myself proud. And like, if you're proud, when things are good, you're fucking happy. And when things go to shit, like they always will, well, fuck it, you're proud. So like, it doesn't matter. You just keep fucking going. We don't miss.
I love that. And that's the second part that I was going to touch up on. So thank you for reiterating it. Not missing. I have a prospect. He's not a client right now because he needs to work on his mindset before we start working together. And now he's a friend, you know, and I told him, and it's funny because he asked me that, like, why aren't you screaming at me? Why aren't you hard on me as you are with a lot of people? And you want to be like, hey, motherfucker. And I was just like, because I see a lot of myself in you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you do things on your terms when it's conditional. You want to take all the advice from everybody else versus just fucking doing what works for you or testing out what works. Because he was talking about, one of my friends said that macros are this. And I'm like, bro, you want to make it easy for you? 1 pound of body fat. That's how much, like whatever body fat you are right now, 270 pounds, 270 pounds of protein. I'm telling you, you're going to stop the fucking cravings of all the bad shit you want to eat. You'll be eating so much fucking protein because he lifts like crazy. So it was funny having this conversation with him because he was talking about he feels like a failure. He drinks, he stops drinking for 30 days and then cracks one day. And the way he perceives it in his mind is, when am I going to break? When am I going to miss? And I'm like, what happens if you don't miss? So I literally recorded a podcast, a daily podcast. And that's why I started doing those, you know, is having these conversations with people. And I'm like, bro, what happens if you don't miss? Like, what happens if you just focus on today and you get through it? I'm like, AA, anything you do, they're all going to talk about that. Talk about the current day, living in the current moment and being that. And I'm like, I was talking about my wife going to leave me. She took the kids away for 3 weeks, staying with her family. Like I literally had to think about how I was showing up every day, because I was doing the same shit still. I was still working my ass off 6 days. And I'm like, you know what? Me and her aren't good. So I can have this day to myself. I can get super high one day, or I can fucking check out of life and just want to play video games or want to just lay there and watch movies with the daughter. And it's going to be okay. The fact is like work still needed to be done. I still needed to show up. I wasn't doing that. So I was sharing this with him and I'm like, hey bro, what happens if you just set up every day and you're like, regardless, I'm going to do this? Or maybe you have the injuries. Okay, well, you can't fucking lift today. Could you go for a walk? Can you do this? Can you do something else? Like, you have 2 fucking legs. Let's get moving. And it was funny because when I was saying that, what happens if you don't miss, he was starting to understand that, like, hey, every day we do have the opportunity. And that's something, you know, you share, brother. You're always fucking working out every day. You're always being present with the wife, with the kids. Let's touch on that section, brother. When it comes to presence, being a better father, being a better husband that we haven't been in the past, what are some suggestions that you give when we start being fully present within that moment?
Oh man, like really just be, you know, cut off all your distractions. But I'll be honest, I read love languages, the 5 love languages. Same thing. My girl said she was going to leave. She said, I love you so much. You are my soulmate. But if you can't get your shit together and stop being nice, then I'm going to go date women. And I thought to myself, like, wow, really? All right. And now mind you, she's so fucking smart that she did that because we're men. If you tell a man you're going to leave him, we're automatically thinking like, is there somebody else? Right. She's like, no, you're the love of my life. But if you can't be nice, I'm going to go date women. And that's because she didn't want to create any extra anxiety or fear in my mind. She just wanted to get the point across. And it was because I wasn't present. I was always in pain. And I would give my attention to work because I had to make a living and everything else. And I would be fake to people who who are paying my bills, but that's not who I live with. That's not what really matters. So when I would get home, I'd be a dick. I'd just a grump. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And one day the little one was like, Mom, Dave has no patience. And then my son says, my oldest is 16, he's like, Dina, my dad's a dick. And that was all that happened in like 2 days. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I just became intentional about my time. And I make sure that when I'm with them, I touch them. I reach over and how are you? What's going on? What do you want to do today? And just pass on that positive energy. And I just don't let myself have distractions. Instead of saying I'm going to spend the day with them, like it's not truly, nobody needs to spend the entire day with your kids. You're going to be with them all day. But like, if you say that, you're going to be on the phone, you're going to be doing this, you're going to be doing that. Like I block out time that is just spent with them. And that is it. There's no phone. There's no other bullshit. So it's an intentional time. And that allows me to be present. Because if my phone's going off, the thing goes off all day. It's hard to stay in the moment when nothing's going off all day, or this is happening, or this bill is due. So I just made it intentional. That's really it. I simplified it. And like, I like to skip to the end result. And what do I want? I want to be fit. So I make sure I go to the gym. I want to be a good dad. So I make sure I spend time with them. And it's quality time. I cook dinner every night. And we have to eat together. It's what it is. I'll go around. How was your day? Tell me about your day. Tell me something that was funny at school. Tell me this, tell me that. And it allows us to just kind of be in the moment and not go, because you could sit on the couch and watch a movie when you're scrolling your phone. Is that really spending time? Or are you going to sit down and bang out a puzzle or drop some pitches and actually be with them? So I guess it would just be intentional with your time with them and not just, I'm spending the day with my kids, but like, what are you doing in that time? You have other things going on, or is it solely about them?
Bro, I love that so much. And that was something I actually got asked the other day from somebody. It's like, how do I do it as well? And I'm like, really, it doesn't matter what the day looks like. You still got your non-negotiables, what you got to do. And you still got to show up. And for me, like we have Disneyland passes. So like on Wednesday for fucking Valentine's Day, we're going to Disneyland. And literally what I do is I wake up, I get the workout in early, I get my cardio in early. I fucking make sure that I get whatever work I need done within the morning so I can spend the day with my family and then have a fucking great day off my phone. Why? Because that's exactly it. And I let everybody know, hey man, out with the family today. We're going to be at Disneyland. We're going to be doing this. So I can be fully present within that moment. And it was funny because one time we took a break. My wife's ordering food off the phone real quick. One of my buddies like sent me a message. I did a voice message, sent it back to him. And she's like, oh, I thought you were going to be on the phone with him for like 45 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, with that dude, I sent a voice message, let him know what's up. Hey, bro, handle this fire. This is what you do. Move the fuck on. Why? Because I don't need to be into that. And it literally was funny because last night, same shit happened. We came home. My daughter wanted to watch fucking Paw Patrol movie. So we put it on and I'm sitting there just watching it with her. And I was like, this is actually a pretty good fucking movie. And she's like, I like this, Dad. And she's only 2, and it was something where I was like, I could have easily been checked out. I could have easily been on my phone, not thinking about that moment, not thinking about, hey, tomorrow we have all these things going on. I need to get up early. I need to get more clients. And it's like, that's not what happens, and you mentioned that the consistency aspect, showing up every day. Like we're saying these things, reiterated them multiple times, but people don't understand the power of that. That's how me and you became friends. That's how, you get on podcasts. That's how you create those relationships with people. It's just by what you're doing. I literally got offered a position to be able to help with an event. I can't release the details of that, but the reason why that happened was because the guy was like, hey, bro, you're showing up every day. You're always pushing this podcast. I interview people. He does solo episodes and teaches from a mentorship perspective. And I was like, hey, I need to do more of that. So it was funny because we're both helping each other. And with that particular individual, we would have never linked up if I wouldn't have been on my A game. I would have been showing up every single day and, sharing my truth. So I loved you saying that, brother, because that's something people don't understand. It's just the work that goes into being a better man. People just think that you wake up, or maybe you're just built differently, Dave. Maybe Dave just fucking, he just drinks some fucking juice that makes him be a different being. And it's like, nah, bro, there's no special fucking juice.
Nah, dude, it's work. It's work. And you got to get up and serve yourself first, because if you're in pain, then you're going to cause pain. So I
Yep.
get up and I have this system that keeps me aligned and keeps me positive all day. And I get to go home and make breakfast for the entire family, pass on that positive energy. I make my little one do burpees and say his positive affirmations. Me and my older one have our little routine that keeps him working hard and on point. It's hard to get a 16-year-old kid to say, like, I am a good person. I will not, I can make mistakes and still be okay, but my little one, like, I'm instilling that in them right now. So they're not 22 years old dealing with anxieties of failure. What do I want to be? It's like, dude, you're going to be your best self every day, and you attract what you are.
Boom, bro. I do that with my 2-year-old. My 2-year-old gets fucking crazy. I'm like, let's do push-ups, or she'll see me do push-ups and burpees, and she does them with me. And then my little 10-month-old, my wife was talking about it. It's like, you're irritating. Like she saw yesterday, you're irritating, because he's always knocking his head. I'm like, get up, let's go. And she's like, why do you got to be so hard with him? And I was like, because you can't coddle him. I coddle him, and then he looks at me and he's like crying and wants me to pick him up. But I'm like, hey, bro, you're tough as nails. He fucking falls, hits his head, and I'm like, oh, you good? And I'm like messing with him and like really pushing him. He likes it. He starts being more. My daughter likes to punk him. So he knows, like, okay, my sister's being mean, pushing me in the face, I'm going to pull her hair. So like, he sticks up for himself. He's not even fucking 1 years old. And I'm laughing because I'm like, hey, that's what you got to do, is teach him how to be tough, but also respectful. And I understand they're at a younger age, but I was like, that's the goal, is to teach them young. So when they're our age, they can be a lot better. And that's the second part. It's like, we can't complain about what we had, or, the things that we missed out on, if we're not going to instill that in our kids to be better, or to teach them to take that advantage. And that was something that literally I talked about this morning in the gym, where it was like, I used to fight that shit with people where I'm like, oh, you came from a good place, you came for this or that, because they don't get it. And then I realized, like, you're either going to fucking get it or you don't get it. I'm wasting my energy talking to these people who don't get it. So I'm going to talk to people who do get it, or the people who do want change or seriously interested in changing their life around. And that's where I started attracting more people, was doing exactly that, where it went into it. So I really appreciate you, bro. You've been an amazing guest. I'll wrap it up with the last question here. What would you say to the previous version of yourself? You don't know where to start. You just want to align yourself with your definition of success.
Man, I would say listen to that voice inside of you and let that guide you. Like I said, my biggest mistake was I trusted teachers. I trusted doctors. I trusted the army. Everybody gave me bad advice. And that voice inside of me has always guided me, but I did the opposite of it. And then I wonder why I had fucking panic attacks, because you're not being true to yourself. So I guess it would just be like, listen to that inner voice and do that, and don't fucking miss. And if you're not setting yourself up to be your best self, that means getting a good night's sleep, having a wake up time. Fucking your morning process should serve you for the best day ever. Get up early, get your shit done, and then go be. Because you're either like I said, you're either creating positive memories or you're creating negative, like trauma on your children. So energy is everything, and nobody wants to be around a dick. So be your best self, and then pass it on to the world.
Brother, I love that. And I'll wrap it up with one last thing, resonating with that. That was something I talked about, where it was like, I told my wife yesterday, I was like, it's a disservice to everyone around me if I don't be the best version of myself. It's a disservice if someone's fucking talking about being a jackass and I'm sitting here, that sounds great, brother. Like, I'm not gonna fucking do that. I'm gonna be the guy that's like, hey, bro, that shit's not it. Or, okay, yeah, maybe you'll understand in the future. I just don't get how the fuck we can be validating this negative behavior and then think it's okay. So it's like, I'm going to be that one to say it at the same time, because I know if I'm fucking up, I want you to do the same thing for me. Hey, bro, you're saying this. I may tell you to go fuck yourself, but I'm telling you because you're saying something that I need to do and I'm not liking it within that moment, but I will come back and thank you. And that's the key, is, doing exactly that, listening to that inner voice. You know what it is, and I say that all the time, is, hey, you look yourself in the mirror as a man, you know exactly what you need to do. Now get to work.
That's it, dude. Love don't lie, right? So people like when you're in a negative space because they're a little better than you. And that's it. I think no man wants you to be better than them. So when you start living this way, it's a lonely journey. It's because nobody's truly rooting for you to be better than them. And that's not what this is about. I'm just trying to be better than me. But like when I become my best, it makes everybody else reflect on what they're doing. But love don't
100%. 100%, brother. Because you get these fucking people who are commenting on your shit. Look at your form, and it's just like, you're a fucking grown ass man. You're gonna be talking to another grown ass man about his form. If he asks you for advice, say it, but don't give your unsolicited advice. It's like,
Everybody's a tough guy behind the keyboard, right? Like,
oh, 100%, brother. And it's funny because it's like you could either get upset about it. For me, it's just the principle. It's like, hey, you're a fucking man. I'm not going to tell you anything unless we're having that conversation, or you're explaining it. In our case, we have injuries. Then it makes sense. But two, it's the context because people don't understand that, and that's the fact is. So I appreciate you, bro. You've been amazing. I would love to have you on a second time. Where can people find you, man, if they want to keep up with you?
Find me on Instagram at Dave Click, and I created Resilient Mindset. It's a SOBA/mindset fitness program that helps you get over anxiety and helps you become a better you. So,
Hell yeah, brother. We'll definitely send people your way, man.
absolutely, my
Thank
brother.
you again.
Thank you.